FISA and Carter Page. This is really the story that just keeps on giving, right? Discrimination in the Hollywood workplace. I always thought anything goes there in Hollywood. Anyway, Google versus Oracle. What's next in that case? Cheerleader star Jerry Harris is arrested. Yep, for child pornography. And Illinois Governor Pritzker may have a legal problem. Welcome back to the Daily Facts. Let's get right into it. Okay, so this article is from the Federalist, and this is Carter Page, but it's more than Carter Page. What do you see here? Huh? Yeah, you listening and watching. What do you see here? What do you see here? I see a very rich man in a few years. That's what I see. Because what's been done to Carter Page is, I mean, besides it being unlawful and upending his life, it's just corruption at its finest. But let's get into this article. FISA court confirms the government lied in every spy warrant application against Carter Page. So every spy warrant, so that's however many times, however many millions that he's going to get because of this, because I guarantee you he's getting paid. A newly classified ruling from a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, court in June demonstrates that the government lied about its basis for spying on former Trump campaign official Carter Page. The ruling states that the information produced by the FBI's unlawful investigation into Page was illegally obtained and that it found violations of the government's duty of candor. Well, candor is just lying, means lying. Why are people afraid of using that term? You lied. It wasn't candor, you lack candor. You lied in all four applications. The ruling also orders the government that it must temporarily retain and potentially use and disclose the information collected largely in the context of ongoing or anticipated litigation. Under the court's 21-page assessment, information obtained by all four of the warrants and applications is invalidated due to its illegal acquisition, unless the Department of Justice is using it to investigate or prosecute potential crimes relating to the conduct of the Page or Crossfire Hurricane investigations, such as the FBI's overreach and its violations of FISA. The court is permitting use or disclosure of information obtained from the electronic surveillance or physical search of Page only where it has been or can be demonstrated to be necessary to remedy or deter the types of harm the ruling states. Yeah. So, this is just on and on and on. We already know. We already know that they spied on him unnecessarily. In the January ruling, a FISA judge claimed that the FBI violated protections for U.S. citizens under FISA law because the government did not have probable cause that Page was acting as an agent of a foreign power. Under FISA law, the government is not permitted to secretly spy on U.S. citizens without probable cause or evidence that a citizen is unlawfully acting as a foreign agent. End of story, right? So they unlawfully spied on him, and they know it. I mean, Kevin Kleinsmith pled guilty to tampering with emails so that they could get these FISA warrants. It's all just a nasty, dirty little game. But one that I suggest Carter Page is winning. All right, this next article is not surprising to me. It's from the Hollywood Reporter. Daytime TV's dark side. Former TMZ on TV, Ellen and Rosie employees detail abusive work culture. We're not gonna spend too much time on this because I mean it's not surprising, right? I was never a fan of Ellen DeGeneres. I mean, when she had people popping out of things trying to scare her guests. I mean, what kind of person does that? I've seen her interview people and apply pressure unnecessarily. And I mean, she's just, look, her world is spiraling downward. And does she have money? Yes. But sometimes for these people, they stay in the game forever, like Ellen DeGeneres. She had her show for many, many years. I don't know if it's back on or if it's, even if it is back on, people are going to be looking at her sideways, right? Because, I mean, you're alleged to be mean to your employees. But again, I'm not surprised. I've watched her and I could immediately tell that she wasn't a very nice person. That's just my humble opinion. But let's get into a little bit of this article. Long before DeGeneres' show came under fire, culture problems were rife at several shows produced by telepitchers. What you had at Ellen are showrunners who came from notoriously toxic environments. On April 17th, Warner Brothers Television confirmed that Ellen DeGeneres' show executive producers Ed Glavin and Kevin Lehman, also the head writer and co-executive producer Jonathan Norman, were being dismissed following an investigation into workplace toxicity, sexual harassment, and discrimination. Now, it's interesting. I mean, these are people that she works closely with. I find it impossible to believe that she didn't know any of this was going on. A week later, Bernadette Zillow, a 27-year-old former TMZ on TV staffer who worked at the company from 2015 to 2020, filed her own discrimination complaint, claiming Harvey Levin's celebrity gossip outlet had subjected her to years of misogynistic indignities, only to fire her after she went to HR. Warning: when you go to HR is there to protect the company. It's not there to protect you or me, in my humble opinion. It just isn't. They're not there to protect you. They're there to find out what kind of complaints are they may have against executives, and then once they get the complaints from the person they get rid of them. They may give a talking to the executive, they may not. That's just how it works. So, why bother? To the average person, the two workplaces could seem unrelated, but Ellen and TMZ both end in credits that feature a twirling T for Telepictures, the syndicated giant that produces both Plus Extra, The Real, and Judge Mathis, among many others. A Hollywood Reporter investigation into Telepictures, a subsidiary of Warner Brothers Television, reveals it to be a repeat offender when it comes to breaches of professional protocol. According to interviews with more than 24 current and former Telepictures employees, both at the studio and on its shows, the culture, which once typified the rough and tumble world of syndicated TV, has simply not kept in step with the rapidly changing times. Well, here's what I'm going to say. Okay. Well, TMZ, and I've covered a few of their articles. I mean, I don't work for them, so I don't have a problem with them. But you gravitate towards what you like. And so this young woman who worked for TMZ for 5 years, mind you, um, I mean, you like what they do. You know what they do. They uncover things and they, follow people and sometimes disrespect people, so on and so forth. Just a lot of negativity around TMZ. So, I would never want to work for TMZ. Would you? So if you know there's a lot of negativity that is that accompanies something like that kind of organization, well, you go into it knowing that. And you go into it because you are more than likely like-minded. So I don't know what happened, but you would have seen within the first few months or probably weeks of the environment. It wasn't hidden from you. So why did you wait 5 years to, you know, go to HR? That's 5 years. 365 days times five. You went through that door hundreds of times. You sat in that environment for weeks and months and years. So, at any rate, the point I want to make here is these people don't probably claim to be nice. If you were to walk up on them, they probably would tell you, no, we're not nice. Anyway, just an interesting story that I wanted to share. But let's move on. All right, this next story is from American Thinker. Is Google's Supreme Court doomsday approaching? In a matter of weeks, Google versus Oracle, the copyright case of the century, will take a crucial step towards resolution. This decade long dispute will determine whether Google's unauthorized replication of more than 11,000 lines of Oracle's Java was illegal. Okay, now, I don't know about you, and I'm not a legal expert, right? But I'm just surmising from those few sentences that I read they stole something from Java. I mean, 11,000 lines of Oracle Java. I guess we have to say alleged, but look, 11,000 lines of Oracle's Java. They replicated. All right, let's keep going. When Apple's iPhone hit stores in 2007, Google needed to develop a similar concept to remain competitive. Java, Google thought, would serve as the basis for its own operating system. Hey, we could use that. Let's just take it. We're one of the biggest companies in the world. I mean, they're not going to mind. And if they do, we'll just keep suing them and tie them up in court for years. Right? But rather than license the software outright, the company instead chose to steal the code and ask for forgiveness later. There you go. As demonstrated through the ongoing court case, Google discussed licensing Java in 2005 in emails to Sun Microsystems, but then walked away from the negotiations. Google's leadership allegedly wrote, if Sun doesn't want to work with us, we have two options. One, abandon our work and adopt MSFT, CLR and C language, or two, do Java anyway and defend our decision, perhaps making enemies along the way. This appears to be indubitable proof that Google was aware the code was copyrightable. This shouldn't come as a surprise. A top lawyer for Google once admitted that Google's leadership doesn't care terribly much about precedent or law. The company seems to think that its high-priced lawyers and endless monetary resources can always rewrite the rules of the road to meet the company's financial interests. Well, exactly. But I'm here to tell you, maybe the first, that Google is going to go down. They're going to suffer greatly in the following years, in my humble opinion. They're going to go down. In the coming weeks, the Supreme Court could confirm the U.S. Court of Federal Claims findings. It should not try to correct the software industry for Google, one of the most predatory companies in modern times. Deep down, even Google itself likely knows that the coding is lifted, is copyrightable. The company has endless cash and appears to use it to carve out IP loopholes for itself. That should not be tolerated. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. This next story deserves this. Yeah, that's this person here, Jerry Harris, flushing his life down the toilet. So let's get into the story. Cheer star Jerry Harris arrested on charge of production of child pornography. Jeremiah Jerry Harris, one of the students featured in Netflix's breakout docuseries Cheer, has been arrested on a production of child pornography charge, according to Assistant U.S. Attorney Joseph Fitzpatrick. Harris, 21, is accused of enticing an underage boy to produce sexually explicit videos and photos of himself, according to a criminal complaint filed in U.S. District Court in Chicago. The minor was 13 at the time, the complainant said. I'm going to stop there and remind you of Kevin Spacey and his alleged proclivity of 14-year-old boys. What is it with this age range? It's sick. A representative for Harris did not immediately return CNN's request for comment via email. Harris appeared in federal court in Chicago on Thursday afternoon, where the government sought his detention as a danger to the community. Harris's attorney said he will seek his release, saying he is asthmatic and at risk for COVID-19. Well, let me just get this straight. You're saying that his asthma, even though there's probably several people in detention right now that have asthma, and every single last one of them are at risk for COVID-19, but he's special? Production of child pornography is punishable by a minimum sentence of 15 years in prison and a maximum of 30 years, a press release from the U.S. Attorney's Office stated. Harris was interviewed by law enforcement this week on these accusations, according to the criminal complaint. Earlier this week, Harris was accused of child sexual exploitation and abuse in lawsuit filed by an attorney representing two alleged victims. Okay, so a spokesperson for Harris told CNN at the time that we categorically dispute the claims made against Jerry Harris, which are alleged to have occurred when he was a teenager. We are confident that when the investigation is completed, the true facts will be revealed. And I agree. We have to wait and see what happens. But on its face, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. All right, something else that doesn't look good, and I'm not talking about his mug, is Pritzker, who's under federal investigation for property tax scheme. This is from Illinois Policy. Now, Pritzker is the governor of Illinois. Okay, so he and his wife and I think brother-in-law decided to, well, you know, defraud property taxes. In other words, they didn't want to pay it. So let's get into this story. Removing toilets from the governor's Gold Coast mansion saved his family more than $331,000 in property taxes. Now, just as an aside, I believe he's definitely a millionaire, and I believe he is a billionaire. Now, I don't have a problem with that, but come on. And I don't even have a problem with rich people trying to find, tax cuts, as long as they're done legally. I don't care. Let's get into this. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, his wife, and brother-in-law are the subject of a federal criminal investigation arising from property tax breaks on a Pritzker mansion in Chicago's Gold Coast neighborhood, WBEZ reports. I mean, Gold Coast. It's beautiful. The Gold Coast is beautiful. A 2018 Cook County Inspector General investigation found now Illinois First Lady M.K. Pritzker directed workers to remove toilets from the mansion in order to declare it uninhabitable, which resulted in more than $331,000 in property tax breaks. Okay, now in their defense, she directed them to remove toilets from the mansion. Now, maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe there was good reason. Maybe there was something wrong. Who knows? I need to know more. That needs to be expanded on. The report called this a scheme to defraud taxpayers, and Pritzker pledged to repay the money, but the governor and his wife may now face legal consequences. All right, so if it is wrong and what he did was wrong, I mean, why are you running around now saying you want to repay the money? If you knew what you were doing was illegal, then you shouldn't have done it. Illinoisans are no stranger to criminal investigations into the state's chief executive. 4 of the past 10 Illinois governors have gone to prison, right? Namely Blagojevich. But, that's questionable. And President Trump recently pardoned him. So he's out of prison. I thought he was railroaded anyway. The ongoing federal probe will cast further doubt on one of Pritzker's key political objectives, removing the state's flat income tax protection in order to install a $3.4 billion progressive income tax hike. His plan relies on a political promise that the middle class will not see further tax hikes under a progressive or graduated income tax regime, and that wealthy Illinoisans will pay what's fair. Well, here's what's fair to wealthy Illinoisans: the same thing that everybody else pays. That is what's fair. But to these people, by the way, Governor Pritzker is a Democrat, and again, wealthy. So you're trying to save $331,000 in property taxes, and you're wealthy, yet you want these people to pay their fair share, these wealthy Illinoisans. It's hypocritical. So, yeah, we'll see what happens here. I think we've heard enough. So thanks for stopping by the Daily Facts. Do like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment below, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.